Alrighty, everybody. Hope
Alrighty,
everybody's
everybody.
having a
Hope
good
everybody's
day,
having
good
a good
evening, whichever
day, good
time zone
evening,
you're on.
whichever time zone you're on.
Unfortunately, there's going to be a bit
Unfortunately, there's
of
going to
an
be a
echo,
bit
I believe,
echo, I
with
believe,
Mr. Ed's side,
with
but
the Ed
he's going to be
side, but
talking,
he's
so
going to be talking,
it won't
so
bother us because he doesn't have an echo.
because he doesn't have an echo.
We're joined by Mr. Ed Sawicki today. He was at FOB4,
He was at FOB4,
and he ran some recon missions, hatchet forces,
hatchet
and he
forces.
was actually there during the August SAPPER attack. So he's been through it all, as you can see. He's going to share a little bit about his history. He's going to talk a little bit about. So we've got a good show today. Mr. Ed, the floor is yours.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bud. Let me start out by saying I came from an Army family. My mother was a nurse during World War II, and my father was involved in D-Day +6. And he got injured very badly on his legs, both legs. He had 26 fractures in one leg and 28 in the other, or something like that. So he was shipped back to a hospital, an Army hospital back at Baltimore. And my mother was there as an RN. And so my mother was actually my father's nurse. And I'm a result of that, from that standpoint. So that's how I got, more or less, I had to do that because I couldn't go into any other service but the Army, So that's how I wound up in it. I was going to college in California at the College of San Mateo, and I met a Green Beret who had been in Vietnam, and I was impressed by him. And it was in probably 1965 that I met him. Okay, and since I was impressed with them, and I was being drafted at the time, I decided that I want to go into Special Forces. So that's how I wound up in Special Forces. I went through the normal Special Forces stuff, which was, took the battery test and stuff like that. And then I went through basic training at Fort Ord, and then infantry AIT at Fort Ord, and then jump school at Fort Benning. And then I went to Fort Bragg for my Special Forces training. And I went through 3 phases of Special Forces training, all 3 phases, and I was schooled as in engineering and demolitions. So I had a 1-2 Bravo MOS, and I carried over the 1-1 Bravo from my infantry training. So went through all of that. And then I was assigned to the 7th Special Forces Group. And I actually volunteered for Vietnam out of the 7th Special Forces Group. I did go through additional training at Fort Bragg, and they sent me to advanced engineering training at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And I was in the first Green Beret class ever to go through that first engineering 12 Bravo class, and an advanced thing. And it was kind of a kick. I loved being stationed by Washington, D.C., and they didn't know what to expect from us because we were the first paratroopers they had ever seen. And we were a little bit crazy back in those days. So I went to Fort Belvoir, got back, then they sent me to language school for Vietnamese, and I did that. And then they put me through operations and intelligence school. I was an E4 at the time, and it was normally it was like an E7 or 8 MOS type of thing. So I went through that, and then I got assigned to Vietnam, and I went over to Vietnam in it must have been 1968. Okay, and I was assigned to an A team, but before I was assigned to the A team, when I hit Nha Trang, they were asking for volunteers for a convoy from Bambi Tuet, from Nha Trang to Bambi Tuet. So I volunteered for it, and we took the convoy down. Pretty much uneventful. It was all supplies for a new A team at the time. So I didn't realize it, and then I got back to Nha Trang, and they assigned me to A231 Tuiata, and that was out of Bambi Tuet. So the supplies that I drove down there from Nha Trang was for the base we were building. It was brand new special forces camp on the Cambodian border. So it was kind of a trick. I had a great team. I love that A team. Just love the CEO, and I love the. It was an E7 that had been a major during the Korean War, and he was our top gun down there, and just loved him. And then so we were building the camp, and then it was with two different mountain yard tribes, Rade and Jarai. Okay, and they sent me out on patrol with another Green Beret and a company of mountain yards, mixed mountain yards. And this was just prior to Tet of 68. Probably about, I was going to say 2 weeks prior to Tet of 1968. And I set up an L-shaped ambush on a trail that was pretty hot. And I sent out 4 recon teams, one in each direction, north, south, east, and west. And 3 of them came back, no problem. I was waiting on the 4th one to come back. And 4th guys came back, and they said, Boku VC coming down the trail. So when you work with mountain yards, Boku could mean 2 or 200, from that standpoint. So I saw 19 NBA enter the kill zone of my ambush, and I triggered it. And all of a sudden, we got flanked on 3 sides. So I said to the other American, you take the company and leave me a squad and the A6 machine gun, and I'll hold them back until you get out of there, okay? But, you got about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm going to be running up your butt. Okay, so it worked. He got the things out, the team out, the company out, and we got out of there, and then we spent 3 days running from them. I kept running into them, and I called in Puff, the Magic Dragon, and all of that stuff. So we got back. The big thing was we ran out of water. And they couldn't resupply us by helicopter. So we went 3 days without water. And eventually we got back into camp. They wanted me to go back. We went back before we left to go back to camp, we did. They wanted me to go back into where the ambush was and do an assessment. We got in there. And there were NVAs. And they were big guys too, because I looked at them and thought, I was used to the mountain yards being small and stuff like that. So actually, I booby trapped a couple of the bodies, and then we got out of there and started heading back towards camp, and got far enough away where I could I heard a couple of hand grenades go off on the bodies, because I knew they were going to try to get the bodies out. So anyway, we got back to camp, and the captain looks at me and says, "Boy, you had a lot of problems out there. I'm going to send you to Bambi Tuit to relax a little bit." So I get into Bambi Tuit, and I'm downtown Bambi Tuit with a 45 on me, and all of a sudden Tet broke out. And I had to get back to the B team in Bambi Tuit, which I did. And I kept thinking to myself, I better get back to the A team. At least it was safe out there, from that standpoint. So I got back there, and then and then I got my orders to go to SOG. And SOG back in those days had a reputation. If you got orders to SOG, it was kind of like your death warrant. You weren't going to live. Okay, so I took a couple of gulps and went back to Nha Trang, and they shipped me up to Da Nang to FOB4. And then I started running RTs. I was a 1-1 and a 1-2, and I didn't. I don't know if I got to get it out of this thing for a second here. Hold on. Okay, I think we're back. I had a pop-up that got up there, so now we're. So I get. Let me see. I was at the camp. After Tet, and got my orders for SOG, and went up to Nha Trang, and then went into the Da Nang FOB4. Ran RTs for probably 3 or 4 different missions, and it was a 1-1 and a 1-2. I worked. The 1-0 was a guy by the name of Hatcher. I can't remember his first name, but anyway, I wasn't really happy with running RTs, so they assigned me to the Hatchet Force, and I just loved the Hatchet Force. It was going out and kicking butt and taking names and that type of thing, rather than trying to do that. And so I went out. That's the Hatchet Force, and here I am back there in the last row. The guy in front, second from the left, right there, that was Captain Pfeiffer. Really a nice guy, sharp guy. I knew what he was doing. And so we were out on a mission in, it was Laos. It was Laos. And anyway, we were out on a 5-day mission and got out there, and we were working with Chinese nun mercenaries, and we had probably, maybe 10 Green Berets on the Hatchet Force at that time. So we got out on the site, and Pfeiffer wanted me to take a squad and go up the hill because we couldn't see anything. So I got up on top of the hill, and the vegetation was pretty hot and heavy. So I had a brand new lieutenant was with me. He assigned me a brand new lieutenant, and back in those days, the biggest hazard you had was a second lieutenant with a map and a compass. So anyway, we got down there, and we were on top of this mountain, and we still couldn't see anything. So I decided to climb a tree.
Oh.
Okay. And I climbed a tree and looked over, and there was kind of a fork. The river had forked into two different areas, and we were on the wrong side. They were on the other side. The NVA were on the other side. So I got up there, and I got the lieutenant to get on the radio, and I said, "Tell him we're in the wrong spot. The NVA are across the river." And then they finally started to spot me up in the tree, and they started shooting at me. So I called in an airstrike on them, and we tried first with artillery, and couldn't get the rounds. I mean, I called in for rounds, and nothing ever came. You know, couldn't see them, couldn't hear them, couldn't see them. So anyway, we got some A1A Sky Raiders up there, and they bombed the crap out of those guys up there. And it was nighttime when I finally get down off the tree, and I tried to get back take my squad back with the lieutenant back to where Pfeiffer was, and the vegetation was so thick I couldn't do it. I mean, there's no way. I tried everything under the sun to get through the vegetation, and it was just impossible. So anyway, daylight came, and we got back to where the main body of the Hatchet Force was, and I think we had like 2 days left on the mission, and it was pretty uneventful other than that. So got back into FOB4, and Pfeiffer wrote me up for an Army Commendation Medal for heroism. And then so I was back at FOB4 when FOB4 got overrun by the zappers, the NVA zappers, on August 23rd, 1968. And that was me. That was Colonel Warren giving me the Bronze Star for heroism on what I did with the A team.
Oh.
So I loved Warren. Warren was a great guy. Loved him. And would have walked through hell for him from that standpoint. Really good guy. So then, let me see. So all hell started breaking loose. I was in the bunker in our hooch there were 6 guys, three guys on each side of a hooch that had a plywood wall in between them. And about 1 a.m., about 1:30, the first explosions occurred. And what the zappers were doing was they would take satchel charges and throw them into one side of the bunker, and have a guy with an AK-47 on the other side of the bunker. As the guys on the other side of the bunker were running out, their hope was to blow up the guys with the satchel charge on one side, and then kill the other guys with an ambush on the backside. So I got up, I got my Car 15 and my ammo belt, and put my pants on, and started out. The other 2 guys in my hooch were Sergeant Green, who was an ex-British sergeant major that decided to become a Green Beret.
Wow.
And a guy named McGriffin, who was an E7. So I was the first guy out the door, and as I ran out, we were towards the beach. So I ran down towards the beach, and as I entered, and I turned left once I got outside the hooch. And I started running, and we had a pre-assigned bunker that we were supposed to go to. So that's where I was headed, was this pre-assigned bunker. And then Greenwood was the second guy out. And as I turned and ran towards the latrine, and then turned left and up towards the bunker, the main TOC, I saw two guys in diapers, two indigenous in diapers with loincloths on their heads, carrying AK-47s, and it dawned on me that these were our guys, you know. So I let loose with my CAR-15, and we were, you know, relatively close together. I would say 15 feet from each other, and I dumped a magazine into the two of them, and they kept on running. And I thought to myself, the thought crossed my mind, I says, hell, how the hell could I miss them at this close? So they ran about 10, 15 feet and fell over. We were so close, the bullets went right through them, and they collapsed. So then I got out to the bunker, and so did Greenwood and Griffin, and we stayed there. I remember looking up at the Marble Mountain, because on the top of Marble Mountain, we had a radio relay station on one side and a Buddhist temple on the other side. It was like a saddleback type of thing. So I'm looking up there, and I'm seeing all these tracers hitting the radio relay site. And I go, holy shit. And I kept thinking, I don't think those guys are going to make it. But somehow they did. And I finally, at the last Surah, I met the guy that was on top of the mountain at the radio relay station. So anyway, we had a nice conversation. And then we could watch from the bunker. We could see the zappers and the firefights that were going on, and I kept thinking, if we can last until sunrise, we're probably going to live. Okay. And then later I saw Pfeiffer coming out with about I know 2 or 3 other guys, and Pfeiffer was kicking ass on it. So anyway, he later got the Silver Star from that action at West Point. He was a ring knocker, and that was some shot of Marble Mountain. Yeah, so anyway, I remember sunrise coming up, and seeing the bodies, all the bodies, and you had a couple of shots of the buildings that were destroyed and stuff like that, and just all the bodies of the Green Berets, 16 Green Berets, probably about 200 Chinese Nung mercenaries, and then a bunch of NVA bodies. And that was kind of where we were at. And then we regrouped at sunrise. and I guess technically we were overrun at FOB4. Okay, we lost it and then we got it back. So I don't know how you want to define it, whether it was we were overrun or not. I was asked to take a squad of Chinese young mercenaries up towards radio relay site, which I did, and pretty uneventful. By that time, the NVA had recovered most of the bodies and vanished into the Buddhist temple. We didn't know about this until later, that the Buddhists had a monastery up on top. The mountain underneath it was hollow, and that's where they hid all the zappers from that standpoint. So remember too that Greenwood, my buddy, my roommate, he had the duty of collecting the bodies. So they had a deuce and a half there, and about a squad of Chinese mercenaries, and they were picking up the bodies and generally cleaning up the area. So that was that night. I don't know how I survived it. To this day, I don't know how I survived Vietnam. I mean, it just, don't know. I guess the guy upstairs had a different plan for me. So that was it, from that. I'm very proud of what I did in the military, in the Green Berets, and in Black Ops, for SOG. And, I think my life has been was set by what I did in the military. Okay. I survived probably because of my special forces training. And, I just thought about, I've accomplished a lot in my life because what I did in special forces and in SOG in particular. I worked for the UN a couple of times. I've got the lifetime achievement in my field. They just wrote an article about me for an electronics engineering news magazine. They referred to me as the founding father of semiconductor safety and health. So I think I've been very lucky in what I've been able to accomplish from that. I went to school after Vietnam. I finished up an undergrad in engineering at San Jose State, and then went on to graduate school at University of San Francisco, where I majored in industrial and environmental toxicology. And then Intel recruited me as their first safety engineer. And so I went up, I was with Intel for 7 years and worked my way up to corporate director of health and safety worldwide. Then I always had this dream to start my own company. So I had my own company, my own corporation for 18 years. And we specialized in safety, health, and environmental in high tech. That would be semiconductors and eventually nanotechnology. Our expertise were in hazardous materials. I taught hazardous materials at Stanford University, lectured at probably 8 or 10 different universities, master's degrees levels. Then I was getting tired of running a corporation. I was getting to the age where I wanted to drop the corporation, go on to something else. So Applied Materials got into a problem. They are the largest manufacturer of semiconductor equipment, and they got into major problems with safety, health, and environmental issues in Silicon Valley. In fact, they were viewed as the worst environmental health and safety program in Silicon Valley. And they had 425 violations. I had a reputation of keeping CEOs out of jail and resolving issues with local regulatory compliance when I had my own corporation. So they offered me a job interview. So I went over and took the job interview. And, they asked me what I wanted in salary, and I shot them a number. And they took a gulp. And I went back to work running the corporation. And then I figured, well, that's the last time I'll see those guys. And they came back in about 2 weeks and said, hey, we can't meet your figure, but we can do this, this, and this. And that's almost gets you to where you want to be. So I said, sure, I'll take the job. So I took the job, and they made me regulatory compliance officer for the corporation. So I did that. And then it was kind of a trip. I turned their program around from being the worst in Silicon Valley to being the best in Silicon Valley. And it took me 3 years to do that. So, but I was with them for 7 years. And that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Gosh, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
I just shared the link to your Electronic Times article online, so people here in the chat, so people can see it. And I apologize.
Is that the one in the electronics news or what?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's a great article. I was scanning a little bit earlier and just happened to pop it open again. And you've led quite the successful and wildlife. From special forces into the
realistically, yeah. I worked for a couple of governments.
NASA.
NASA. I was requested by Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan. Also, I built the first semiconductor fab in Israel, in Jerusalem, and it's been a wild ride. Really, I got nothing to. If I died tomorrow, I got no regrets.
Jeez, you definitely had. I mean, 19 in special forces, going to an A camp, then to SOG, and your post-military career. Just stop with your short-term military career. You kept going like you said, and that's seems like most of you SOG men. Either you stay in and lead very successful careers, or you get out and you lead very successful careers. Either way, you guys continue on.
Yeah, no regrets.
Wow, it's amazing. I'd be remiss. The echo's going to be terrible on this, but you had mentioned you had gotten orders to MACV-SOG while you were at A camp.
Yeah.
Did you request previously to go CNC, or did orders come in for manpower?
No, I think they put me through the 11 Foxtrot training to go specifically to MACV-SOG.
Wow. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
We were in the kindergarten class. They called us the kindergarten class for that.
Wow, that's so. How long did you spend with the A team and then spend at FOB4?
I was at the A team for about 3 months. Great group of guys, just super group of guys, and then transferred to MACV-SOG. Got transferred over there and spent the rest of my time on my tour with MACV-SOG.
Wow. Got your CIB and then went over to running recon with FOB4 guys.
FOB4 guys.
Right.
We're going to keep it short tonight, guys. Audio issues, and maybe perhaps Mr. Ed will come back on one day and we can maybe do a question and answer session where you guys can ask some questions. And after you've read up a little bit about him, we can see if we can get it back. All righty, sir. Is there anything?
Thank you, bud.
Yep. All righty. We'll have.
I just want to thank you.
Yep. We'll see you later.
Okay. Thanks.